Hey, it's Wednesday night.
It is Wednesday night. What does that mean?
Podcast night.
Oh, you're trying to do something different. That's okay.
It was an attempt, yes.
Okay. I think like most people would plan something like that. I'm not sure, but how is Wednesday going, Eric? Is that better?
Yeah. See, the problem is we had the conversation before where anything I can say about how long my Wednesday was gets the "you don't know what long Wednesday means" from John.
Well, no. Well, there is a well of sympathy somewhere, but it's probably not here. not right at the moment, at least. But it's okay. It's okay. It's
Yeah.
It has been quite a week, is what I would say. Oh my gosh, it has been quite a week.
Yeah, and it's only Wednesday.
It's only Wednesday, and like just the news today. Well, like in the last 24 hours, it's been been like a mad rush of security news. Oh, it's crazy. It's amazing.
Yeah. In slightly different but exciting news.
Okay.
Over the weekend, I actually resolved my bathroom water leak issue.
Oh, what was it?
Unfortunately, it's behind the wall. But fortunately, I know how and why and where and how much. So the tub stopper, right? It's a shower. It's a tub shower.
Okay.
And you reach down on the tub faucet or where the water comes out of the tub, and you pull up on the little lever, and that turns the shower on.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Well, apparently there was a slight leak in that. When you lifted it up, there was a slight leak, and water would leak back down through the faucet because a gasket had a little rubber O-ring. What was it? A gasket?
Okay.
Not a
washer.
A little rubber thing had gotten slightly out of whack, so there was a very slow drip. So while a shower was going, water would drip and flow back the other direction, and then it didn't have a way to leak out of the fixture itself, so it kind of filled up on the inside of the fixture until it reached where the pipe came out of the wall, and there was a gap in the pipe in the wall.
Oh.
And so it would leak through that and just slowly go down basically on the inside of the tile, between the wall and the tile. I'm sure that's where it is. And then just kind of suck through the grout to the edge. So.
But you're saying that the faucet in the tub is like cupped. It can hold water.
Yeah, it's hard to describe on a podcast, but there's the outer piece of metal, which I found out was actually plastic.
Okay.
And then there's the inner piece of plastic. And so the outer piece that looks nice screws around this hard plastic inside, which is where those were. And that screws into the wall. And so I assume that's they have the inside so they can put whatever kind of change to the outside they want it to match anyways. So that was the problem.
So do you just replace the faucet?
No, I kept the faucet. I caulked the hole in the wall.
Okay.
It was one. I went and got the little a replacement rubber ring.
Okay.
For the faucet. And then to be triply sure, where on the inside of the faucet, between the gap between the outer part of the faucet, the faucet and the inner plastic pipe where the water goes, I drilled a hole in the bottom so that if it were to leak again in the future, it will leak out
I see. A little drain hole.
Instead of, I put a drain hole. There apparently looks like there's supposed to be a drain hole there, but how it was fixed together, it had gotten filled up with just gunk.
I see.
And it wasn't very big anyways. So
nobody will ever notice it. It's on the underside of the faucet and
exactly.
A little bit. So
I drilled a much bigger hole.
Well, how exciting is that?
I was very excited to solve the problem. And now my debate is, do I actually open up the wall and the tile and see how bad the damage is on the inside? Which I don't want to do. It's not dripping from, it's not going downstairs. It didn't get anywhere. We just started noticing it on the edge of the wall, and I watched it. It's a very slow leak.
Yeah.
So it's like a shower, anyways. So
my call is
that's where
no.
I'm at.
No.
Yeah. It's
not if it involves destroying tile.
Yeah. So I believe I have solved my problem. Only now to move on to an electrical issue in my garage.
Oh no!
Which tripped my breaker several times today. My internet cut out, and I was blaming the ISP for whatever. Well, in the garage is where my Fios comes into a little box, and that box is wired to a switch in the garage, which is on a GFI. And we had one of the windows by my front door had gone bad, so we were having it replaced. And the people who were replacing it were plugging into the garage sockets to run their power tools, which tripped the GFI. So pretty much now I have enough on that circuit that if you run anything else on it, it trips the GFI.
So you're running at the ragged edge.
Yeah. Because I've got, the heater was going, the heater is plugged into that. So it's a gas heater. So the electrical to kick off the gas, I have a garage fridge and freezer that are both on that same circuit. And several other things in the garage are on that circuit. And so I called a friend whose father-in-law is a retired electrician just to say, hey, come give me some ideas of what I can do. And he came out and said, oh, we'll just do this and this. And, oh, you're doing that? Oh, that's bad. The fridge and freezer, you don't want those on a GFI. You want them on their own circuits. And they need to be, he's giving me all the rules.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, how much is that going to cost me? He's like, a couple $100. I'm like, sold.
Done.
Just let's do it.
Done.
So I'm going to get a couple of circuits added, and my internet will have its very own circuit now, so it will never trip.
There you
At
go.
least not for that reason.
There you go.
So,
that's
anyways.
Awesome. Yeah, when I wired that little tack room out in the barn last summer or whenever it was I was doing that, I went a little overboard. I think I put in 3 circuits for the 2 little rooms. One of which was, the whole wall. There was going to be a refrigerator in there. And so I'm like, so that own circuit.
Refrigerator.
Yep.
Right.
And anyway, actually, when my wife first went into the room, I had just put up all the little blue boxes. And, she's like, oh my gosh, I do not need this many plugs. And I'm like, but it's easy when you're setting it up. Like, it's harder to put them in after you do walls and everything else.
Right.
But she's like, yeah, I don't need that many. Please take some of them out. Anyway, that was funny. Well, hey, I solved a problem this weekend too. Actually,
nice.
I have my wife's car, I guess, is a Jetta diesel. Older one. And a while back, it started putting an engine code on, and we're not driving that much, so I wasn't really in a rush to get it done. But anyway, but then so I didn't know what the code was. I actually didn't have a code reader. The last time I had something wrong with an engine, I actually went and borrowed one from a friend. So this time I just went down to Napa and I bought a cheap code reader so I could find out what it was. And it was a P2015. Okay, whatever. So I do just any Googling at all, Jetta P2015, and it will come up of, if you have not gotten this error code yet, you will get it at some point. So I'm like, oh, great. Things you don't Google before you buy a car. I forget if I said on the podcast, this is the car that, there were not a lot of cars that met the criteria of had to get more than 35 miles per gallon, or electric would have been great. Had to seat 4 people, had to hold an upright bass in the back, or with 4 people hold a cello in the back. And there are not a lot of cars. There are no hybrids, at least little cars, that get more than 35 miles to gallon that you could put a cello and 4 people in. Just FYI, right. At least when we were looking. So, so whatever. So the thing is if you do much Googling about this code, and there's a website called dieselgeeks.com, and they have a little kit for fixing the P2015 that you can buy. That's basically this little bit of milled aluminum, and I guess the deal is that this error code is caused because there's a little sensor that's spring loaded on the some motor. I don't even know what the motor is, and basically, if the sensor bends out too far, it will start throwing this code that says improbable sensor value. So it's basically, hey, that valve or whatever the heck this sensor is measuring isn't supposed to go that way. And so you literally take out this motor on the car and take out some screws and put this little aluminum block on that's perfectly sized and milled so that it won't allow the rocker arm to go past, because it'll basically act as a support so that you can't get this quote unquote improbable sensor value. So, and the things are on, the websites at least will say, oh, if you take it into a mechanic, they'll say they need to replace this whole thing and they'll charge you $900. But in reality, all you need is this, $65 kit, to which I was like, oh, cool. Okay. So that's what I'm going to do. This was me a while back. And then through the magic of creepy internet snooping, Amazon a couple of weeks ago comes up and says, hey, are you interested in this kit, this Volkswagen kit fix? And so, I feel bad a little bit on this, because it was $15 and prime delivery next day or next day, whatever. And which is, how in the world are those staged so that can be delivered so fast? I don't know. Maybe this is a real common problem with Jettas. So anyway, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to buy that. Bye. And then I went over to a buddy's house on Saturday, who's kind of mechanically inclined, just to make sure that I didn't do something bad putting it in. So, and cleared the code. No code. I've driven it to the store and back. I drove it actually in to pick up Thai food for dinner tonight. Oh my gosh, that was delicious. And no error codes. And so my car is fixed for a sum total of $30 for the code reader and $15 for the part.
Nice.
I was super happy. My wife didn't drive. My wife hasn't driven the car yet. She doesn't trust the fix. I'm like, it's going to be fine.
So your improbability drive has been fixed.
Improbability drive. That's very nice. Yes, exactly.
I was the whole time I was trying to work that joke in when you kept calling it an improbable code.
Improbable code. Is that was that in the Hitchhiker's Guide, or was that in
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
The later ones, yeah. Good stuff. All right.
Yep. Jump into follow up.
Well, yeah. What? Oh, I put a thing in follow up. Really, only because we've had like 3 or 4 of these over the course of the last year or two, which is a QNAP vulnerability. In this particular case, QNAP warns users of new Crypto-miner that is targeting QNAPs with weak passwords. So, don't expose your QNAP online. What the heck? But the malware strain is called Dovecat. Okay.
Hmm.
So it said today's security advisory comes after the company began receiving reports from its users about 2 unknown processes last year that were running nonstop, consuming the device's memory. So they are evidently it's attempting to pass as a legitimate email daemon that ships with QNAP. But anyway, so I have patched my QNAP, but if you are in the business of having NAS, just make sure you keep up on it. It's a nice juicy target for something that's able to up 24/7 and steal some CPU cycles to mine you some Monero.
Yeah, well, I just noticed it also mentioned Synology. I have, in all our QNAP conversations, I have sat back with my little smug grin about not having a QNAP and having Synology, and apparently Synologies are in the same boat.
Oh, yeah.
I need to go check my Synologies now.
There you go.
But they aren't attached to the internet.
Exactly.
So.
Well, neither am I.
Alrighty.
All right. Well, hey, how about a topic today? What'd you bring?
So, the one that I was paying attention to this week was the Apple iOS 0-day bugs. So apparently Apple, if you have not updated and patched to 14.4, you may want to accelerate that option for yourself, because these were described as a chain of iOS 0-day exploits, and it includes iPad OS, which I think Apple now calls out separately, but it's for iPads and iPhones, where there was a iOS kernel bug that allowed an attacker to elevate privileges for whatever they wanted their code to do, and 2 WebKit, so Safari, 0 days, that allowed an attacker to execute some code inside a malicious Safari browser. So a quote from the article we'll link is, security experts believe the 3 bugs are part of an exploit chain where users are lured to a malicious site that takes advantage of the WebKit bug to run code that later escalates its privileges to run system-level code and compromise the OS. And once you've compromised the OS, it's game over. They get whatever they want. So there you go.
Yeah.
Update your iPhones. And my family is almost exclusively iPhone family members, and extended family as well. Not all of them, but a large majority of them. And looking at some of the things and reporting on this is one where I texted out the whole family and said, hey, normally I don't kind of bug you about updating because I know some of you are lax in it, but maybe you want to update this one. This one, I'll wait for you to say you've done it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Recommended. Actually, I was chatting or texting with my father earlier today, where he was like, hey, they've got another one out. Should I do it? What's up with this one? And so, yeah, that was good. And I told my family at dinner to make sure everybody runs the update. And I guess I did mine earlier this morning. So, although not my iPad, I should update my iPad tonight. Look over at my iPad and ruin the audio there. Sorry. Yeah, that was a particularly, they pushed that out fast.
Yeah. Because Apple mentioned not just, it wasn't just, here's some CVEs. It was Apple, I think the quote was, Apple is aware that these might currently be being utilized in the wild. So there apparently was some evidence that this wasn't just a cool exploit that somebody found, some researcher found, and no one used it. This was found and apparently has been used in the wild. So they didn't mention anything else, didn't talk about the extent to which it was or anything like that, but there may be additional information coming, I imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, patch. All right. I had a hard time choosing a topic today because there's too many.
That's all right. I had a hard time choosing something fun, so I got 4.
Okay. Well, I'll have 4 topics. You have 4 something funs. Actually, how many topics did I actually do? I think I did
3.
You did 3, but that's only because I didn't talk about the NetWalker stuff. Okay, so, all right. So the first one, which is actually happened last year, and I tried to remember if we talked about this, but I don't remember if we did or not, and I didn't look back at it. But this is a Stack Overflow blog that came out on Monday. That was a basically detailed timeline of events that for an incident they had in a year and a half ago in May 2019. What did it say? It said, it's been quite some time since our last update, but after consultation with law enforcement, we're now in a position to give more detail about what happened, how it happened, and what we did to address the underlying issues. But this is a great, amazing timeline. Yes, it was basically, a year and a half ago that it actually happened. But the crazy thing about this is, well, there's a couple things here. The first of which is, oh my gosh, I cannot even believe how insecure some of their infrastructure was. How were they having all these things like directly connected to the internet without hardened security controls? But the other thing though is they sorry, this is like the total punchline, but I didn't want to spend a ton of time on this. But once they had the IP address of the people or the person or attackers that were attempting to get in, or that had gotten in, they got all the way into their source code, right? They had cloned the source and were messing around actually with their build server, trying to figure out how to get changes that they wanted deployed. But once they had the IP address, they could watch on a day by day basis what the person was what the person was searching for on Stack Overflow for how to break into Stack Overflow. So, for example, let's see, Thursday, May 2nd, the attacker visits a number of meta posts associated with our team's product and publicly available case studies related to the enterprise published on Stack Overflow. They go on down, like Thursday, May 9th. They continue to browse Stack Overflow for details on building and running .NET applications under IIS, as well as running SQL scripts in an Azure environment. On Friday, May 10th, they continue viewing Stack Overflow and server fault questions around IIS and .NET applications. Let's see. Anyway, so they're like watching them try to figure out what to do by searching Stack Overflow. And they're like, they're stymied at this particular place. So their attacker has little activity today, limited to viewing Q&A around SQL databases in Azure. So the image at the bottom of this that I'm going to make the chapter art for this chapter is one does not simply break into Stack Overflow without constantly looking up how to do so on Stack Overflow. So I don't know. That's just so meta. It is fantastic, I thought.
Along those lines, though, it's hilarious because I wonder how many online attacks Stack Overflow could actually predict by just having telemetry into what people are querying. Because someone else trying to break into any other kind of website, they're going to be Googling Stack Overflow on how do I write the code, how do I do a bot to do X, how do I do
right.
That's where a lot of it is happening. I wonder if that's a business opportunity for Stack Overflow in the security space.
That is hilarious. I can totally imagine it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Huh.
That is funny. Anyway, so that's number 1. Number 2. This is a sudo bug. Sudo make me a sandwich, which it took me a while to notice on the. And I'm totally going to make this the image for
The
the
chapter
chapter
art.
art too. So if your podcast player doesn't have chapter art, get a better podcast player. And if it does, and you're not looking at it, go look at the chapter art for this chapter. So because there's an old XKCD cartoon comic strip about sudo. Anyway, which is funny, make me a sandwich. No, sudo make me a sandwich. Okay. Anyway, so the logo for sudo is they've got a big sandwich there, which is just hilarious. I wonder if Randall Monroe knows this. He must.
Yeah,
he must.
That's awesome.
Okay. Anyway, so this is an old bug. It goes back decade, I thought I read. Is it in here? I don't see it in here at the moment, but
10 years old.
Yes. Where did you read that?
I don't know where I read it on the art. I know that's what it said at some point.
Okay, so I must
somewhere.
have read it on a different article, not the one that I plan to link on here, but because this is the Sudo homepage. So the issue here is, quote, a serious heat-based buffer overflow has been discovered in Sudo that is exploitable by any local user. It has been given the name Baron SamEdit or SamEdit by its discoverer. The bug can be leveraged to elevate privileges to root, even if the user is not listed in the sudoers file. User authentication is not required to exploit the bug. So, the problem with those sentences right there, the bug can be leveraged to elevate privileges even if the user is not in the sudoers file, and user authentication is not required to exploit the bug, means that any account on any vulnerable Linux system can be trivially elevated, which is crazy sauce. So this is I'm sure causing an enormous amount of scramble among security teams across the world to go get it patched. So, because sudo is in everything. And the issue actually centers around escaping. Oh my. How many bugs are around escape?
Last week it was it's always DNS, or what was the line?
Yeah.
For shell scripts, it's always escaping.
Yeah. I wonder, yeah, if you could go back in time and make like a single change to the timeline, could you go back and make something about how text is represented in, a computer and have that like propagate throughout, future history on limiting this sort of thing? Who knows? So the issue is, there's only 2 paragraphs here, so I'm actually going to read it. So when sudo runs a command in shell mode, either via the -s or -i command line options, it escapes special characters in the command's arguments with a backslash. The sudoers policy plugin will then remove the escape characters from the arguments before evaluating the sudoers policy, which doesn't expect the escape characters if the command is being run in shell mode. A bug in the code that removes the escape characters will read beyond the last character of a string if it ends with an unescaped backslash character. Basically, if it's a attempt to escape it. Under normal circumstances, this bug would be harmless, since sudo has escaped all the backslashes in the command's arguments. However, due to a different bug, this time in the command line parsing code, it's possible to run sudo edit with either the -s or -i options, setting a flag that indicates shell mode is enabled. Because a command is not actually being run, sudo does not escape special characters. Finally, the code that decides whether to remove the escape characters did not check whether a command is actually being run, just the shell flag is set, and this inconsistency is what makes the bug exploitable. And then there is a simple command line that you can run to test whether your version of sudo is vulnerable. It's basically sudo edit -s and then a Perl command that will print A with an escape. And then if you receive a usage or error message, it's not vulnerable. If it's segfaults, it's vulnerable. So I would just like to say that, hey, Ubiquity, you might want to patch, because I just before this, just for kicks and grins, I SSH to my USG and did it, and boom, segmentation fault. Although I guess, to be fair, before I yell at Ubiquity, it's possible that they have actually released a patch that I haven't deployed, because I didn't actually look. So anyway, maybe that's on me. After we finish recording, I'll actually look and see if I should update my firmware. So that is a big bad Linux bug that if you have, well, not if you have Linux devices, if you have any devices in your home, you probably have Linux devices.
Yeah.
And they are probably vulnerable, whether you know it or not. So I bet you my Wi-Fi grill is vulnerable. I wonder if it has a patch. I'll have to check. It's pretty funny.
How many cars are vulnerable?
Oh my gosh.
Everything runs Linux.
Yeah. Go ask, elevate your Tesla.
Good times.
Good times. Okay. All right. Finally, one more. Hold on. I'm trying to not dwell too much on these, but this is action today to take down the Emotet botnet. Huge news. So let's see. Authorities across Europe on Tuesday said they'd seized control over Emotet, a prolific malware strain and cybercrime as a service operation. Investigators say the action could help quarantine more than 1 million Microsoft Windows systems currently compromised with malware tied to Emotet infections. So the article we'll put in here is to a Krebs on security article. But this is incredible news. I'm happy to see this happen. So let's see. More than 1 million currently infected, which is amazing. So, Emotet basically would infect the systems to, add them to the botnet, and then they sold access to other operators to install other types of malware. And depending on whether that was destructive or not, multiple times. So malware, banking Trojans, etc. So anyway, so let's see. What else did I pull out of here? It said, in a statement published Wednesday morning on an action dubbed Operation Ladybird, the European police agency Europol said the investigation involved authorities in the Netherlands, Germany, United States, United Kingdom, France, Lithuania, Canada, and Ukraine. So global action. And I got a couple other things here. Two more things at least. The first of which is that the Dutch National Police said 2 of the 3 primary servers were located in the Netherlands, and since they took it over, and I think the Emotet command and control traffic is pretty well understood. They placed an update on the central servers for all infected computer systems to deploy that will quarantine them, quarantine the infection. So the other quote here was, simultaneous action in all the countries concerned was necessary to be able to effectively dismantle the network and thwart any reconstruction. So hopefully that will put a nice big crimp in the Emotet botnet and Emotet infrastructure.
Right.
I'm sure something will spin back up and continue sending the spam and phishing and all that other jazz. But this is an awesome bit of news for today. And then the final thing I would say, so actually I haven't watched this video yet, but there's a link in the article to a video that is from the National Police of Ukraine. And it shows authorities raiding a residence, seizing cash and computer equipment, and what appears to be numerous large bars made of gold or silver. And the statement says that the 2 citizens of Ukraine were identified who ensured the proper functioning of the infrastructure for the spread of the virus and maintained its smooth operation. There was other comments in here from Germany. They seized 17 servers in Germany, and obviously there's a lot of people across the world. They did have on the Dutch police website, there's a tool to let users know if their email address was compromised by Emotet, which I haven't actually used. I'm curious to see if any of my emails are in there, but we will see. So anyway, so that was my third one. Good news for the day. Good news. All right. and big news. All right.
Nice.
All right. How about something fun?
I have a plethora of something fun.
A plethora of fun. All right. Hit me up.
All right. So the first one, I don't know if you've seen floating around this whole sea shanties thing going around of various topics. Everything is a sea shanty. And half of them don't sound like I don't know what a sea shanty actually is, apparently, because they just sound anyways. But one that I liked, which I'll link to, I found on Twitter. It's Rachel Toback. I hope I'm saying the name close at least. Is on passwords and password managers and using multi-factor authentication, and really well done.
Right?
So I couldn't pass linking that one.
That's awesome.
So that's my
that was
my
totally
something
awesome.
fun number 1.
All right.
And then something fun number 2, I don't know if you saw this. There was
saw your link
a
in
rock
Slack.
formation, where you cut the, what's it called?
Geode?
The rock. Yeah, the geode, thank you. The geode in half, and then you get to see the cool stuff on the inside. Well, this one, they cut it in half, and it looks like Cookie Monster from Sesame Street.
It totally does.
It is hilarious. And I wanted to try to find Cookie Monster, the Twitter account, Cookie Monster, actually retweeted this.
Oh.
So Cookie Monster on Twitter said, I think it looks like me too. Anyways.
That's awesome.
So if you haven't seen that one, that's my something fun number 2. Go read about that. And the article talks a little bit about just rock formation articles in general and how anyways, it was fun. Yay, Cookie Monster. And then something fun number 3 is maybe a little bit more on the serious note. But it is in reference to the wall, the border wall between the U.S. and Mexico. And a artist created a project. So apparently in parts of the wall, they're just big metal poles that have gaps in them. Small enough gaps that you can't fit a person between them, but, it's see-through or whatever. And an artist has basically went and put teeter-totters so that one side of the teeter-totter is in the U.S. and one side of the teeter-totter is in Mexico. And they have people bring kids who teeter-totter from one side and the other. And just, I don't know. It's just, I suppose, slightly political conversation, but
yeah,
it's I appreciated the information and at least the desire to point out that there is good here. I don't even know if that's the right way to say it, but it's a great article.
Yeah.
So I would, it's from the Berkeley Alumni Magazine is the link we put, I'll throw in there. So those are my 3 something funs.
Okay. So my something fun, I can't have to say something about this. I'm not sure it's fun, but it is certainly interesting to watch. So, if you're paying attention at all this week, you've probably heard about GameStop and the GameStop stock squeeze, let's say,
Short squeeze
going on at the moment. So, I what I'm going to put in here for an article is an article I saw. It's on Vice, but the title of the article is "Send This to Anyone Who Wants to Know WTF is Up with the GameStop stock." Although the subtitle is "How a Horde of Redditors Are Destroying Various Hedge Funds and Becoming Rich." So this is crazy. This is interesting. This is, boy.
Yeah.
I think you could take this with a whole barrel of popcorn. So the person I most am curious about how will play out is Ryan Cohen. So what is going on here? So just to set it up and I'm not a financial advisor. So if you want advice from me, don't muck around with GameStop. But don't take my advice. You do whatever you want. What's going on here? So the deal is, I think a lot of people don't even realize that you can basically sell stocks that you don't own, right? You can, you can do a naked short if you have enough money clout, bankrolling you, or options as well. And essentially what has happened here is that GameStop as a company has been in decline and had a hard year the last year. And, even though gaming is doing really well, a lot of buying of games isn't by physical media anymore or,
right.
Buying and trading discs. It's from just the app stores on the PlayStation and Xbox and other things.
Right.
Or mobile gaming has eclipsed all of that, and there's nothing to plug in for mobile gaming. Anyway, so there are at least a few hedge funds that have, and there are two that are named in the article here, that have sold a whole lot of GameStop stock that basically they can't, or,
that they don't own.
They don't own.
Right.
And so these people noticed, this is a bunch of people in Reddit, Wall Street Bets, which the article here will say, these people are not what you would consider investors. They're willing to take a whole bunch of money and basically
they're gamblers.
They're gambling it. They're gambling.
Yeah.
But somebody here noticed that there was these companies had shorted more stock than was actually available in the market. And so, at some point you have to cover your losses. To make, or you have to actually, when you're shorting a stock, the example in here is, let's pretend that I sell you a stock for $10 because I think it's going to go down to nothing. And I plan to buy it for $1, in a little bit. But instead the stock goes up. Well, now, I have to make that whole. I have a negative account balance in my brokerage account, essentially, at this point, until I buy that stock back, and which puts my holdings to neutral. But the thing about shorting a stock is that your theoretical losses are infinite. If you buy a stock for $10, the most you can lose is $10. If you sell a stock for $10 and it goes up, and he used in here, let's pretend in the craziest world, it goes up to $1 million. You owe $1 million to buy that stock. Like you are now bankrupt if you are a normal person. So,
Right.
so these people realized that these hedge funds had sold more stock than was available in the market, which normally wouldn't be a big deal if you basically, let's say you sold 1 million, because they sell lots of shares. Let's say they sold 1 million shares. Well, that's fine. They could cover it over the course of a week, a month of normal trading if they just, basically bought, 10,000 shares a day for 100 days, and they would be even for 1 million shares.
Because at some point they would effectively be rebuying shares they'd already sold earlier in the week.
Exactly.
There's only 100% of total shares.
Yeah, exactly. There's only, X number of shares out. But in this case, the Redditors are buying the stock and holding it to force a squeeze so that there's not enough float to buy or sell the stock, and which is causing the price to skyrocket. So the price was, what was the price? It was $4 last summer, to $20 at the end of 2020, to $40 2 weeks ago, to $300 as of today-ish. I didn't see what the actual thing, but the article says, as I write this, it's worth close to $300. So, and everyone on the Wall Street Bets is basically saying, hold it, stick it to the man, because these venture capital funds are going to have a rough day. In fact, I saw in here there was a article that one of them had just raised, $2 point something billion to help cover its losses, which basically those losses are getting poured into the, from Wall Street into Main Street, because essentially how is this happening? It's happening because literally tens of thousands of retail investors are using apps like Robinhood to buy a few shares for quote unquote free. So, anyway, this is a
move over cryptocurrency.
Well, move over cryptocurrency. There's so many implications to this. I can't even like put them all into words. I don't think it. Like one of the things. So one of the other things that this makes me think about, just as how could this be abused, is there's a tweet by Alex Stamos today that was said something along the lines of, the Wall Street Bets manipulation of GameStop is now the best template for how one could monetize an influence operation. Yeah. What happens if and when, somebody with hundreds of thousands or millions of followers, they target, somebody, something, or bad actors. How do you do this and then essentially profit off of it? And then, it's a way of laundering money, essentially. So this will have implications and follow up for a long time in the future, I think. But at the moment, it is something to keep your eye on and keep watching. So I don't know. I guess that's all I'll say at the moment. But if you haven't kept up on that yet, go read the article that we'll link here in the show notes, and that'll gives a great overview of the background and situation.
Yeah, because apparently no one's doing anything illegal necessarily. I suppose that will be a big part of the debate here, but yeah.
No, don't think so.
It's not insider trading. It's not,
No.
So, anyways.
No, that was another tweet I saw today. Apparently, since this is going to have the effect of hurting people on Wall Street, the SEC may need to ban outsider trading.
I didn't see that. That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. You want my bonus something fun?
Bonus something fun. Okay, bonus something fun. Give us an update.
Right, so I think I mentioned last week that I was working on another goofy little side project, and I was thinking of putting it on the Mac App Store because it's a Mac app. And I figured that by this week, it would all be done and I'll be out there and everything. And I forgot. how much a pain it is to try to put together all the collateral that Apple requires to release something on their app store. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's all good things, but it's time consuming and resource consuming.
Mm-hmm.
And I had other things to do this weekend than just that. So I didn't get it done. But I do have the website up. It's hashcheck.app.
I haven't actually gone to that website. Okay.
Oh, don't get your hopes up.
Oh, it's very fancy.
It's very simple. And so hashtag.app, you can see the website. And because Apple apparently uses the name of your app as some primary key somewhere, I couldn't actually add my app and call it hashcheck in the Apple App Store. So it is #/check, which was available. It's
interesting.
The name of your app is almost like a DNS name as far as Apple's concerned. But for me, I think I made the joke, it's like the newborn unit at the hospital telling new parents, oh, no, I'm sorry, you can't name your kid Frank or Susie. We already have a Frank or a Susie down the hall. So I'm sorry, you're going to have to pick a new name.
Well,
like, how do I? Well, I have an app. I have a name. That's what it's called. It's not a trademark. It's not. Anyways. So.
Yeah, my app's called Facebook. No. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. There is a whole trademark resolution thing that's there. Is hey, if you believe you own this name, you may submit here, and we'll do trademark resolution or whatever. But #check is not a trademark. There are, I looked on the App Store, there are 7 or 9 other apps that none of them do exactly what mine does, but are similar. But for now, if you have a Mac and you're running Catalina or Big Sur, you can go to the website and download, I'll call it an alpha. It has no documentation. I don't have the help set up yet, so you might just kind of have to guess how it works. Because there is some training, education that you would need to be able to use it to its full capacity.
Yeah,
but it functions.
Yeah. So actually, I should take a screenshot of the folder. In fact, I'm going to do that right now for you because it looks like there's some alignment issues, but maybe it could just be.
Oh, if there's alignment issues, I'm all over those. I would like to fix those.
All right. Consider a screenshot taken.
Awesome. So anyways, if you're running a Mac, you want to play with an app before I put it in the App Store, which I'll probably put it in for like a couple bucks just for giggles.
Yeah.
But
awesome. Well, and I was your first beta tester. Well, I don't know if I was your first beta tester, but it worked. It worked for me. So, very cool.
Yep.
Very cool. All right, man. Well, let's call it a show. I think this is not short.
About par for the course. About an hour. That'll get edited down.
All right, everyone. Stay safe until you can get your vaccine, and then stay safe after that too. But be well. Have a good week, Eric.
Yep. See you, John.
Bye.
Bye.